because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit. The kingdom is translated from one people to another. Why is earth and ashes proud? There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man. For such an one setteth his own soul to sale, because while he liveth, he casteth away his bowels. Before I begin this lesson, I want to give all honor and glory and reverence to our Heavenly Father, whose name is YAHAWAH, and His only begotten Son, whose name is YAHAWASHI, to the power of our forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Next, shalom to the hopeful elect of Israel. Shalom to all the sincere Akim out there listening to this gospel. Peace to you and your family. Next, double honors to the elders, the bishops of the great millstone, one who taught me this truth according to the Bible. I want to thank the Most High, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, for giving me the inspiration to do this lesson. A friend of mine sent me this video yesterday, and I was inspired to do a lesson on it. So let's go to the video that I'm referring to. Okay, so this video here is it's by the People Progressive Party Civic. Fair use, section 107 of the Copyright Act. I don't own this video. I'm not making any money off this video. This video is simply for education and edification purposes only. Do not own this video. I'm not making any money off this video. Fair use. Stand by.
He is backing the growing calls for descendants of slave traders from the UK to pay significant reparations to right historical wrongs. He's demanding that those involved in the transatlantic slave trade be posthumously charged for crimes.
Is this what doing your laundry looks like? Wouldn't you love it if it looked like this instead? How much easier is that?
Against humanity.
This is a big topic at the moment. It's being discussed around the world. Ghanan President Mohamed Irfan Ali joins us live now from New York, where he's going to be addressing world leaders at the UN General Assembly on this subject later today. So we've got in early with you. OK, let me ask you a question, Mr. President, on behalf of all of our viewers who would be covered by this. Why should somebody who maybe had an ancestor 7 or 8 generations ago, long before they were a twinkle in their great-great-great-great-grandparents' eye, why should they have to pay now for what an ancient ancestor did? Or why should they apologise for what an ancestor did centuries ago? Why do they still carry that burden?
Oh, it's not a burden at all. You are one of the beneficiaries of that slave trade. So this is not a burden. You should be concerned, and you should pay, because you today are still benefiting from the greatest indignity to a human being, and that is the slave trade. And not only did you benefit during the slave trade and your country developed, but look at what it caused the developing world. During slavery, resources was used to build your country, build up your capacity. You were able to then become competitive. You were able to invest in mechanization, and developing countries like ours were left behind. So you should be very concerned, because you are a prime beneficiary of the exploits of slavery.
So put a figure on it, please, because it always comes down to the bottom line. How much should an individual taxpayer in a country like the UK be signing a cheque to a country like yours, Ghana?
Well, it's easy to calculate. We can use the time value of money. You can look at the period of slavery and the contribution not the contribution, the extraction of wealth from countries like ours, and how it was utilized to build your society, build your country, create wealth in your country, and then add the time value of money, and you will get the value. There's a lot of research paper on this. A lot of universities would have done paper on this. There's enough literature to tell us what that value is. But I want to say that it is not only the value, it is a loss of time. It is a loss of competitiveness. It is a loss of human dignity. It is a loss of our education system. It is the culture that we lost. It is it is all of this indignity that surrounded slavery that we must consider.
I just wonder, people will be wondering what, you explain that there are calculations, but are you able to say in what measure that would be? I mean, are we talking billions, millions? What would you expect the payout to be and over what period of time?
Well, this year in Guyana, we commemorate the 200th anniversary of the Demerara Rebellion. And it took 200 years to get an apology from one of the families. I don't believe that you would want us to wait 200 years for reparative justice and for us to take this conversation forward. CARICOM would have set out a 10-point plan on what should constitute reparative justice and what should constitute reparation. And the calculation goes into billions for the region.
How far back, though, do we have to go on this? Because you make the point, we're talking exclusively here about Western imperialistic slavery, to summarize it. But almost every civilization on the planet owes its existence and its prosperity almost always to crimes in the past, be they aggressive wars, be they different forms of slavery involving different movements of population. You can go right back to the Greeks and the Romans. Why just target one particular era in history? Some would say that's the arguments of political convenience. It's a handy handle to hang your argument on.
I think you're doing a great injustice to compare slavery with any other of the historical facts that you're mentioning.
I was including other forms of slavery. No, but I was including other examples of slavery as well.
To the indignity that slavery brought to people, that is the first thing. And I'll give you an example. Coming on to your program a few moments ago, you were speaking about net zero and climate justice. We are speaking about, the world is speaking today about climate justice and compensation and how we address the issues of climate change. And this is the problem. We live in a very unjust society. We condemn completely the war in Ukraine. But if you look at the mobilization of resources in the war in Ukraine, in 2 years, you have mobilized more support for Ukraine than we have mobilized for Haiti for 60 years. You have mobilized more support for Ukraine than we have mobilized for Palestine for 20 years. You have mobilized more support for Ukraine in just 1.5 years than we mobilized to address the issue of hunger in Africa for 3 years. And that is the type of, unjust way we have been dealing with these crises. And we are not going to tolerate the injustice that occurred during slavery to be compared with any other system. Slavery, we all agree, was the greatest injustice ever done to human beings. So we should not ever try to compare this to any other system.
No.
There is no other system that has created greater injustice than slavery and indignity to humankind in slavery.
President Ali, I wonder if I can talk to you about another issue. In fact, you raise it there. Guyana discovered crude oil in 2015, and by some accounts, that makes your country the world's fastest growing economy and will be one of the largest per capita oil producers in the world by 2030. What responsibility do you feel now as an oil producer amidst the warnings of climate catastrophe?
Well, it is not what responsibility we feel now. It is the responsibility we have always held close to us. We have a forest the size of England and Scotland combined, with the lowest deforestation rate in the world at 0.036%. The entire forest is R3 certified, quality carbon, and this has been standing there forever. The question is, what has the world done with that standing forest? Is the forest worth more dead or alive? So these are the questions. So we have always been a part of the answer. And although we are a newcomer to the petroleum industry and the oil producing industry. We have said very clearly that we support the removal of subsidy on exploration, and we support a carbon tax. We also said that we support a balanced approach. And coming on this program, I heard that we are going to go back on some of the policies in the UK on petroleum and EVs and so on.
Yeah.
So what is the balanced approach?
Okay,
the balanced approach is how do we get the petroleum company around the table? This cannot be, we cannot go into COP28 with two extreme ends.
All right,
Everyone needs to be around the table,
President,
so we can have commitment from all the stakeholders.
Okay, Mr. President, you make that clear very briefly now, because we're over time here. I know you've got to go and we've got to move on as well. But very briefly, coming back to where we came in, one of the points you're going to be making today is about our royal family. And you feel that it's not just about the finances involved here in terms of reparations for slavery, it's about the gestures. And you think that the British royal family should make a big gesture, don't you? What do you mean? Hand over a palace to your country?
Well, no, we don't want the British to hand over a palace that we built. You know, if you go into many of the palaces in Britain, you will see the lovely green heartwood from Guyana. You will see the sweat, tears, and blood of the slaves who were exploited.
So what do you want?
And the revenue that was earned from their exploitation. So we're not asking for a palace. We're asking for justice and a fair form of justice to the ancestors and to the greatest injustice that has ever been done to human beings.
We look forward to
we're not asking for palaces. You can enjoy the palace, and when we visit you, we'll also enjoy it.
Mr. President, we really look forward to your speech later on today to the UN. I'm sure there'll be much coughing and shuffling of feet, because when it comes to getting people to put their hands in their back pockets, you've got a mountain to climb. But you make some very interesting arguments. Thank you for your time. Thanks for the preview. We appreciate it.
President of Guyana.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just stop it there, family. That video was that was the president of Guyana. My apologies, and he handled that very eloquent and present some very interesting facts and rebuttals, and he weathered the storm because the news anchors were they were gaslighting this whole interview and trying to downplay the whole role of slavery and kept trying to control the narrative. So yeah, that was gaslighting at its finest. Let's go into the word gaslighting here just to show you. What is gaslighting? The practice of psychology manipulating someone into questioning their own sanity, memory, or power of reasoning. That is exactly what these guys were doing. But you're dealing with a very guy, a president. He came prepared with his facts, so they couldn't get around it. So they kept changing the topic and making all these ludicrous comparisons. But I showed you a little thing here earlier. This is the royal crown jewels. This is what the queen that just passed. This is what she wore in her head. And this is all these diamonds and all these precious stones, rubies and emeralds and stuff were gathered from countries around the world, nations around the world. And the estimated value of this by the experts, they say, is anywhere from 3 billion to 5 billion. Okay, so this is what the queen wore in her head. So this is all from resources from all these so-called impoverished nations, the so-called impoverished nations, right? So this is what they do, and this is how their kingdoms were built up. Okay, now let's go now to the book of let's see, give me 1 second here. I want to go to the book of give me Psalm 17. Let's go 9 to 11, verse to the point. And this is why sometimes we have to pray constantly to our power, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, for protection from the wicked. You know, let's go to Psalms 17, verse 9. It says, start at verse 8. Keep me as the apple of the eye. Hide me under the shadow of thy wings. That's why we always constantly for that protection, right? From the wicked that oppress me. From my deadly enemies who compass me about. Right? They are enclosed in their own fat, and their mouth they speak proudly. Wasn't this guy very arrogant? Wasn't he trying to be condescending, trying to use different comparisons? Yes, right? They have now compassed us in our steps. They have set their eyes bowing down to the earth, because see how they built up these empires now, so they're looking down on the earth. Every other nation is these shithole countries, as some of the former US president would say, third world nations. See, they have compassed us in our steps, taken riches and resources from one nation to build up theirs, and then now looking down upon other nations. They have set their eyes bowing down to the earth. This is what's happening. So you see, this is the tactic of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, right? And this is not a color thing. This is not a color thing, because I say it over and over in all my lessons. For example, with the Esau, it goes back to the spirit. It goes back to the spirit and the lineage of the Edomites. If you're of that spirit and lineage, you are an Edomite. For example, it's not a color thing. Our Israelites were spread all over the world. The Israelites will look like all different nations. They will look like the so-called Chinese guy, the so-called Indian guy. They will look like so-called white guy. They will look like all the nations. For example, let me just show you a little example here, because I say all the time. This is going to show a quick little video here on TikTok. It says, and yes, my dad is full black. So can someone explain to me? Okay, here we go. The Punnett Square. Watch this now.
And yes, my dad is full black. So can someone please explain to me the Punnett Square?
Don't worry, girl, I got you. So basically that girl, her mom's white, her dad's black, but she looks white, so why? So this is because things like skin color, hair color, eye color, etc. are considered polygenic traits, meaning that there are multiple genes that come into play when determining one's hair color and all that fun stuff. Okay, so this Punnett Square doesn't tell the full story, but it does kind of like show what's happening here. So we have like a paler parent and then a darker parent, and while there are some kids that are like in the middle of those two, there's still others on like complete opposite sides of the spectrum that are darker, lighter than either of them. So our dad has genes that code for melanin and ones that don't, and she just so happened to get all the ones that don't code for melanin, hence why she is hecka pale. She is still mixed and she is not adopted. You're welcome.
And yes, my dad is full black. So can someone please...
Well, that was not the actual video I wanted to do to show, but she explained it in a more scientific way. However, if you look at this lady right here, under her appearance, she appeared to be a white woman, okay? Appears so-called white woman. Now, she says in the further video, her dad is full-on so-called Negro, so-called black man. But this is her, this is how she looks like. So, for example, her father is an Israelite. It's the seed of the father from the promised seed of Isaac. She is an Israelite. So we are into all these nations. So if you look at her on her face, she's blonde here. You know, she looks like an Edomite. But no, she is an Israelite. And that is the point I'm trying to make. So, yeah, so it's like... you know, these guys, go back to this interview here, guys. What he's doing was gaslighting at his finest, but it's also because of all the wickedness, right? The Lord calls them the border of wickedness. This is the Edomites, right? Let's go down to because I said the Lord refers to them as the border of wickedness. Let's go down to Malachi 1 verse 4. So you know what? Pull it from here. Malachi 1 verse 4 says, Whereas Edom saith, Edom is short for Edomites, right? Whereas Edom say, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus said the Lord of hosts, okay? They shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people whom the Lord have indignation forever. That is righteous anger. So the Lord refers to them as the border of wickedness. You know, that is the nation that is cursed to the Lord's judgment. Let's go now to give me 1 second here. Let's go to the book of what do I want? Yeah, sorry. Let's go to the book of Proverbs 3 verse 33. It says, the curse of the Lord is in the house of the wicked. And the Edomites, they're the curse, right? The cursed nation. But he blesseth the habitation of the just. Yeah, see? So all the proud speaking, all the laughing, all the gaslighting, the Lord is going to reverse those curses. And that's all over the Bible, right? See, and they will not be acquitted for all the atrocities that's done across the world, because they know how they got their riches, but they don't want to discuss it any further. And they say, oh, no, that is the past, right? Let's go down to the book of Nahum, Nahum 1, verse 3. And it says, so you put it for verse 2 first. It says, YAHAWAH is jealous, and the Lord revengeth. The Lord revenges and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he's reserved wrath for his enemies. You can go to book of Psalms 83 and see the Lord's enemies. Nahum verse 1, verse 3. The Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not, it says, and will not at all acquit the wicked. See, they can't get out of this one. The Lord have his way in the whirlwind, and in the storm, and the clouds are in the dust of his feet. The Lord is not going to acquit the wicked. So let's go another video here. I want to show you why some of these countries do what they do. And this is a guy here. He's going to explain a little bit. I don't own this video. Section 107 of the Copyright Act. Fair use, fair use, fair use. This is only for education and edification purposes. Not making any money off this video. Fair use, fair use. Now let's go right into the video. Take a listen.
So this is what we do in academic institutions, and I want to show that as well. Let me just start. This is what it's basically about.
And commercials. Bear with me for 1 second.
You a good man. On or off camera? Best.
So you know what it's about, but we will not allow sub-Saharan Africa. But this presentation, what I'm going to try and do is just give you some charts and a couple of tables, just to paint a little bit of a picture that you already know. Okay, so what this presentation is fundamentally designed to say is this. Africa, historically, sub-Saharan Africa has been fundamental to the global prosperity of the advanced countries. Okay? And Africa had a role to play. It has a role as a raw material producer. We will not allow sub-Saharan Africa to escape that. Okay, we do everything to keep sub-Saharan Africa where it is, also impoverished. It's absolutely vital for the prosperity of everyone else. So let's get clear about that. Okay, and this means all the economic structures, all the global institutions, and the economics we teach everyone is all designed to keep Africa exactly where it is. And whether it is Europe or US or now China, it's always the same. We need Africa to be impoverished because we need those raw materials and we need them dirt cheap. Okay, so that's the message. It doesn't mean to say that there's nothing Africans can do. Of course there is. Okay, but this is the opposition that they're fighting. This is what it's about. Because if Africa does do something different, I assure you living standards of all those in Europe and North America and Asia is going to fall. Okay? And that is a big price to pay. I assure you that the West is not going to allow that without a big fight. Okay, so this is what it's fundamentally about. What I want to show you is how these structures are operating. It's just 20 minutes, so we can't do very much, but just to give you a little bit of an idea. And why I keep the ideology part there is because we are part of the producers of ideology. At universities and academic institutions, we are complicit in this whole enterprise. Okay, so the job of many Western academics is to convince Africans they have to keep doing what they're doing. Okay, and to show them it's your fault that you're poor. It's not our fault. It's your fault that you're poor. You know, so this is what we do in.
Look at that word, ideology. That's all the wine. That's all the philosophies of the Western world that are pushed on these nations. He says, try to convince them that it's your fault and it's not our fault. Bleeding the resources, keeping nations down to build up yours, stealing, it is imperative. This is how these nations grow. And then they turn around and speak so proudly and condemn nations that are so-called lesser developed in the world. Let's go now to the book of 2 Thessalonians 2, starting at verse 7. And then shall the wicked be revealed. Do I need to say any more? Whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. Who is the spirit of the Lord's mouth? Through his prophets, the men preaching this gospel, the truth and sincerity, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. All right? Go to verse 8 now. It says, verse 8, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. Right? This is what these guys do. This is what they do. They control nations. They take over nations by violence. Right? And then they speak very lawfully, very proud. There's only two nations in the Bible that were set forth to rule. You see, they were set forth to rule this earth. It was Esau and Jacob. That's the Edomites and the Israelites, right? So let's go now just to show you that really quick here. Let's go now to the book of. Give me 1 second. Gonna go into the 2nd Ezra 6 verse 9. Let's start from verse 6. 2nd Ezra in the Apocrypha 6 verse 6. Then I consider these things, and they all were made through me alone. This is the Lord speaking. And through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other. The Lord is he's not given any reverence, any power to any other God. It's only him. They answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? When shall the end of the first? Okay, and the beginning of that followeth. Okay, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac unto Jacob. This is our forefathers. And Esau were born of him. Okay, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. Okay, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. This is another reason why these people removed the Apocrypha from the Bible, because of this knowledge, this truth right here. It says, verse 9, 2nd Ezra 6, verse 9, for Esau is the end of the world. Remember, Esau is the progenitor of the Edomites. Esau's name was changed to Edom. And Jacob is the beginning of that followeth. That is YAHAWASHI's kingdom and righteousness. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. Okay? Let's go now to the book of Psalms 17, let's start at verse 13. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him. Cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. This man's blessing with the sword, the wicked. From men who are thy hand, O power, from men of the world, whom have their portion in this life. See, they have all the riches their heart can desire. It says, from which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou filleth with thy hid treasure. Okay, 1 second. Let's read that again. Psalm 17 verse 14. From men which are thy hand, O power, from men of the world which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou filleth with thy treasure. They are full of children, right? And leave the rest of their substance to their babes. All the people in the world crying about all the royals, all the stuff they took in, and they apologize for slavery and all these different things. But none of this stuff has been returned to the rightful owners, or the rightful owners. It says the last word, and leave the rest of their substance to babes. This is why you see generational wealth. This is why you see they are so rich, because of all the history of what they have done to other nations, and they continue to pass it on to their families, and generation, it just increased more in wealth, right? So let's go now to the book of let's go to the book of Zechariah. Give me Zechariah. Bear with me. Zechariah 11 verse 5. Let's go to the point. This is what the wicked says. Zechariah 11 verse 5. Whose possessors slay them? Okay, they had us still in slavery today, still in our slavery, still in our captivity. Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty? You think that reporter took any credit, any remorse, any apologies? Nope. Because guess why? He is a descendant of the beneficiaries. He's a beneficiary of all his ancestors for all the riches. Okay, whose possessors slay him and hold themselves not guilty? And they that sell them say, "Blessed be the Lord, for I am rich." That's to speak very proud. And their own shepherds pity them not. This is what they say: "Blessed be the Lord, for I am rich." They don't reverence the poor man. No. They don't reverence the old, right? You know, they will say, you say to this guy, he said, one of the questions he asked was, "Oh, this happened for so long ago." He says, like they like to say about the slavery thing, etc. They like to say, "Oh, that was so long ago. You know, that was not us. We had nothing to do with that. You know, that was our grandfathers and so forth." Now let's see what the Bible has to say about that. One second. Let's go now to the book of bear with me for 1 second. Let's see what the Bible, because they don't take no responsibility. They enjoy the benefits of the wealth, but they take no credit for what it transpired. Let's go now to the book of give me Numbers. Numbers 14. Numbers 14. Let's start at verse 17, because they will never. Okay, the right one. Bear with me for 1 second. I need Numbers 14. Let's see. Yeah, so let's go in Numbers 14. Let's start off at verse 17. "And now I beseech thee, let the power of my Lord be great, according as thou hast spoken, saying," this is the point I'm trying to make here, "and the Lord is long suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation." Yes, so you are your fathers today, but this is because of your forefathers' iniquities and transgressions. Yes, the Lord will visit you, because you are accountable. You are your ancestors. You know, yet they benefit from all the wealth to this day. You know what I'm saying? So it goes back to this guy here was he was very slick in how he tried to ask the questions and control the narrative, right? But they are very, very crafty people. Go back to the book of Genesis. I'm just going to go right to the point here because I'm kind of pressed for time right now. But go back to the book of Genesis in the 3rd chapter. You know, it says, remember the serpent. It says, remember the serpent was more subtle than any other beast of the field, right? The serpent goes back to a nation of people, right? That's the nation of Edom. You see, the other nation, in the Bible, the other nations are referred to as beasts because the laws, the statutes, and commandments were not given to them. You know, and Daniel, the 7th chapter, goes into that, where it talks about the beast. The beast that they talk about in Daniel's 7th chapter was not talking about an actual beast. It was talking about the nations, okay? So just keep that in mind. So take that, read that account, Daniel the 7th chapter, and you'll see what I'm referring to. So now let's go to let's close this off here. Let's go now to the book of okay, you know what? Right to the point here. Let me see. Ecclesiastes 10. Let's see verse, because right now we are sitting in a very low place and these people are very proud. They're happy because they benefit off the riches from all of us, right? Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes 10 verse 5. "There is an evil which I have seen under the sun." Okay? as an error. See what it says? As an error which proceedeth from the ruler. Keep that in mind, the error I'm saying, okay? It says, folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low place. Who are the rich? The Israelites. Okay, this is referring to Israel. And the rich sit in the low place, the so-called Negro, so-called Latino, so-called Native American. And yes, we are spreading to all nations, will look like all nations. Goes back to the spirit, okay, and the seed, the promised seed of Isaac. But it says, folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low place. Here's the point. I have seen servants upon horses. Okay, all these rich people today riding around playing their polo and all the different sports. It says, I have seen servants upon horses, because in the kingdom they will be in servitude, right? And princes walking as servants upon the earth. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. This is that I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking upon and princes walking as servants upon the earth. So this is why you see everything is upside down here. This is why I would always say these things. And let's reverence the last. Let's see, Psalms 82. Let's go to you know what? That's perfect. Sorry, bear with me for 1 second here. I was looking at one verse here, and let's go right to the point. Let's go right to the point. This is not part of the lesson, but the Spirit led me to this because I mentioned the word servants. Bear with me last second here. Psalms 82. Let's go to Psalms 82. Psalms 82, verse 2. Starting at verse 2. It says, how long will ye judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked? Selah. You know, this is what happened. Defend the poor and the fatherless. Who's the poor and the fatherless? The Israelites. Do justice to the afflicted and needy. Yes. Deliver the poor and needy. Rid them out of the hand of the wicked. Okay. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. See? It says, they know not, neither will they understand, because they walk in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. Everything is out of balance right now because wickedness is ruling the earth, right? I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. But ye shall die like men, and fall like the princes. Arise, O power, judge the earth, for thou shalt inherit all nations. Yes, that will be the for the Israelites. Okay, so that's why I said that before, because I mentioned I have seen servants upon the servants walking on the earth. Right? These. Sorry, I just messed it up there. Go back to where I was for a second here. Bear with me for 1 second here. 1 second here. Let's go back to that one for 1 second, because I gotta do it proper justice. Oh, it says, Ecclesiastes 10 verse 7. It says, I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants on the earth. Right? And this is what I had said here. I have said, ye are gods to the Israelites, but all of you are of the children of the Most High. But you shall die like men and fall like the princes. That's what I brought that up. Yes, but I hope that you've been edified. With that, I will say shalom. Shalom, Israel.